handful of things to say about something that you just hardly ever see. That player, Micah Parsons, does not get traded at that age. I know he's not LeBron James, but one of the reasons the LeBron James trade was such a giant story is because that player does not get traded at that age in sports. It's why the Luka thing is such a big story, because nothing you get back in that trade, nothing you ever get back in that trade is going to be as good as what you already have. That thing is so valuable. The pass rush is so valuable, and he's better at it than anybody. Myles Garrett, to my eye, is better, but by the metrics, Micah Parsons is better at getting at the quarterback with pressure than anybody in the league. He's LT-ish in the way that he can get to the quarterback, and you just don't get to say that about anybody. So that player never gets traded. But I believe everybody's sort of missing why this trade was made, as we're talking about Jerry Jones's senility, and we're talking about whether he got along with his agent and a bunch of other things that aren't what I thought this was about. And it's not about Jerry Jones wanting attention. The two biggest reasons this happened, and I don't know which one you guys would choose from among these two reasons, but I believe these are the two biggest reasons. One is the two teams in your division at quarterback are younger and better and are going to be younger and better for the next 10 years. One of them because they have a quarterback who can do it without a lot of help. The other one because he's got so much help around him that they're both going to keep showing that Dak Prescott was drafted where he was for a reason. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is this, and I don't think anybody's talking about this particular thing here. Tony, can you get for me, please, the game logs from last year for the Dallas Cowboys and what they did at home and the point totals they allowed at home when it wasn't Schottenheimer rebuilding, it was Mike McCarthy, we're win now off of 12 wins. At home, give me the point total scores and the result of all the home games Dallas played last year, because I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know what you'd say off the top of your head was the single most stunning result for you last season, but I do remember Saints going into Dallas and putting up 40-something points to beat Dallas was among the largest surprises I saw last year.
That was week 2. That was the home opener for Dallas, and they got beat 44-19 to a Saints team that everybody's like, okay, I guess they're decent, and then the bottom fell out for the Saints. A little bit of context for Dallas this season last year. 8 games with Dak. He got hurt with a hamstring. He was out. Within those home games, they went 2-6. They had a 2-point win and a 7-point win. Those are the only wins they had all season. So, point totals they gave up: 44 to New Orleans, 28 to Baltimore, 47 to Detroit, 34 to Philadelphia. That was the first game without Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush threw for 45 yards total in the entire game. They gave up 34 to Houston. 20 in a win to New York. They gave up 27 to Cincinnati. They gave up 24 in a win to Tampa Bay, and they gave up 23 in a loss to Washington.
And those numbers, when you see what the Dallas defense was doing when Micah was out there, when he wasn't out there, those numbers aren't going to make up what is your architectural gap. Before we get to the meat of this, though, you guys have seen some of the large numbers that are being thrown around on metrics by Bill Barnwell and others, right? I mean, because I can simplify this for you. Bill, I can give you a whole bunch of data that says dig deep on all the advanced metrics and the way these people make measurements, or I can just tell you that Bill Barnwell says that mathematically, when Micah Parsons is on the field, they are, per play, the best defense in the league, and when he's not, they're the worst. Like that, like he can do, that's an obvious oversimplification, but he can do it with the numbers to show you something that's appalling. If Jerry Jones is right now celebrating what has been 30 years of failure for that franchise in a Netflix documentary, And the starting point on that celebration and all of the division between him and Jimmy Johnson is they cannot agree who's responsible for the Herschel Walker trade that brought back the draft picks when they had the genius idea of, we're not good enough, so let's trade our best player because we're not good enough. Because they're just doing the same thing here. They're trading their most valuable asset because the way to close the gap between Philadelphia and Washington in this, a rebuilding year for the Cowboys, is to use those draft picks and try to close the gap. Micah Parsons wasn't going to. This is the way that Micah Parsons helps you most the next 2 seasons if you're the Dallas Cowboys, because they're not actually close.
They were really terrible against the run. They were 29th against the run. And in that division, when you play the Eagles twice and a mobile quarterback and Jaden Daniels twice, Jerry Jones spoke to this. That's why they got Kenny Clark and 2 first-round draft picks. I'm shocked that Jerry Jones made this deal, but also he did pretty well because Kenny Clark does help where they're weakest. And Jerry Jones already said, like, everyone assumes we're going to keep these draft picks. We can use these draft picks to add to our team.
This is Jerry Jones's spin on it. Run defense. You're not stopping Philadelphia from running the ball. With or without Micah Parsons. They run the ball. It's why they're champions. They run it against everybody. It's why Jalen Hurts looks the way he does. You're right, though, that the problems with what it is that I just said for the Cowboys is it's not just that Philadelphia and Washington are better than you, obviously. It's the way they're better. They're younger and more stable at quarterback. They have a future that doesn't have defenses that allow those point totals. Guys, those were the home games. Your defense, 44, 28, 47, 34, 34, 27. I don't care who your quarterback is. That didn't happen to Pittsburgh when they don't get the quarterback play. Those numbers at home. I understand Micah Parsons didn't play in some of the games, but that's the problem. Like, Dak Prescott can't correct that, nor can run defense, by the way. Like, okay, fine, Micah Parsons, the way that you try to neutralize it is you run right at him instead of trying to pass around him.
And I think a couple of years ago, there was a bit of a mask on the Dallas defense because they created so many turnovers that masked some of the inefficiencies that they were having on corner, safety, and defensive line. That it was like, oh, Dallas's defense is actually really good. And then the bottom fell out again for the last 2 years.
But let me be clear on what we just saw yesterday, because I'm not allowed to act unsurprised by this. We've been talking for weeks about, Jerry likes the noise of this, and then he caves at the end. He always does that. Mike is not going anywhere. In the stunning of what happened yesterday, because Jerry Jones has to correct all of this. One, you just traded away someone that I can absolutely make the argument is the best defensive player you've ever had. I can make that argument now, rest of his career unseen. I can also make this argument. And this is the problem that Jerry Jones has, as he refuses stubbornly and arrogantly to let go of some of the reins on his league, as if his family is special about creating football teams. If I said to you right now, I'm going to give any NFL executive that you ever have thought of, incompetent or otherwise, whoever it is, Urban Meyer, whoever it is, I'm going to give you 30 years in that job. Am I getting more or fewer than 2 playoff wins?
Yeah, that's a good point. I understand it. That being said, I don't think he did poorly here. If he has to give up a generational player.
He did poorly. No, getting Micah Parsons is the hard part. Being so incompetent that you have to trade him because you haven't built well enough around him is the problem.
They didn't have to trade him. They could have paid him. And Micah Parsons' statement was hilarious. I didn't make any demands. Brother, that's how this whole thing started. You made a very strong demand. It wasn't a request.
You have to trade him if everything else I just said is true. You have to trade him because you're not going to make up the gap with him, because look at how bad you were with him.
Oh, I'm not going to pretend like I know what is going to happen in that division. Historically, people go from bottom to top a ton.
Oh, but that defense can get better, and the Dolphins can get better without making it the right decision. They're not going to win the championship this year. They're in play. The standard there is every year we play for the championship. They may get better. They might. Like, I really think their defense can't be worse. Like, worse than that, you cannot be. So, they get better. They win 10 games. And what? Jaden Daniels is still in your division. Now, maybe Jaden Daniels gets hurt, but the Eagles are still in your division. And what I was beginning to say about the problem that they have is it's not just that it's Philadelphia and Washington in your division. It's the way those teams play and they're built. Like, it's not, they're going to beat you this season and they're going to beat you next season, whether Micah Parsons is there or not, because I don't trust Dak Prescott to be better than what it is that they have now, both those teams in stability at their quarterback. And you don't either. Like, none of you listening to this, if I just make it, hey, the draft evaluations were right. Skill sets, Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels have skill sets that Dak Prescott does not have, made by the measurements that they do at the draft by these scientists, who, if I gave any of them 30 years, would win more than 2 playoff games, assessing talent. Any of them. Mike Tannenbaum, I give him 30 years. Hell, Mike Tannenbaum may have won more playoff games than Jerry Jones in the last 30
consecutive years. He made it to AFC Championship games. You got to win more than 2.
And is it 2 playoff wins? I don't even know. Is it 1? Like, how many playoff games have them? It might be 1.
I think Romo beat Minnesota one time.
Dak has one.
Did they beat the Lions? Did they beat the Lions in a playoff game? Yeah. Whatever the playoff number is, give me.
You think we'd know them since there were so few?
Who is the? Give me the person, the human being that you were to say is the worst football executive in the history of the league.
Chris Greer.
No. Joe Banner was pretty bad in Cleveland. Just Holmgren was pretty bad in Cleveland. Pretty much everybody's been pretty bad in Cleveland except for Andrew Berry, and then he gave out the worst contract ever.
At LeBatard Show, if I put the worst executive in the history of football in charge for 30 years, would he win more than 2 playoff games? Yes or no?
They have 4 wins since 2009 in the playoffs and 3 since 2014.
Wait a minute, what?
They have 3 wins in the playoffs since 2014. In 2014, they beat the Lions. In 2018, they beat the Seahawks. And in 2022, Dak beat the Bucks.
All in the wild card round.
Yeah, I forgot that Seahawks one.
So they've won 3 playoff games?
I don't think Dak's been there at 14. So Dak, I think, has won 2.
They've
right?
never gotten out of the divisional round.
That's crazy.
They're living off of 30 years ago, and Billy's worried about Jerry Jones, like concerned about him. He came in here concerned for Jerry Jones.
Well, did you see the press conference yesterday of Jerry Jones when he was talking about the trade?
I saw that it was 42 minutes.
Well, Jerry, who likes to get out there in front of everyone to kind of show his face and say this is why we did what we did, was struggling a bit in the press conference where he continuously was calling Micah Michael. Yeah. And then Stephen Jones had to then come in and say it's Micah. And then Jerry Jones later on would just continue to say Michael. And then at some point he would correct himself and say Micah. Like, Michael, no, Micah. But there was an issue where, kind of confusing the player a little bit.
He's been calling him Michael for years.
Yeah.
I think he genuinely thinks his name is Michael the way that you think it's Jordan.